Biblical Shakers. This week's reading will close out the book of Ezekiel as we read chapters 44 through 48. Daily devotions will be posted for each daily chapter read. This has been one of the more difficult books of the Bible to understand, but very much a reminder of how we need to follow God's commandments and obey out of love. Ezekiel 44 outlines a future reinstated order for worship in the restored temple in Jerusalem, focusing on holiness and God's presence. The chapter details regulations for who can enter the temple, specifically at the east gate, that remains closed to all but a future prince. The reading also establishes a stricter hierarchy for priests, demoting unfaithful Levites and reserving full priestly duties for the descendants of Zadok. It should be a privilege to minister for our Lord. The all-embracing themes are a renewed covenant, the sanctity of God's presence, and the consequences of unfaithfulness. Not only does the Lord have specific instructions about restoring the temple, but God unveils his divine plan for the allocation of land in Israel as we read the 45th chapter. It emphasizes the specific portions dedicated to the temple, the city, and the prince, and describes the precise offerings and rules for conducting worship. The specific rules for worship and offerings in a future temple, focusing on the role of the prince and the people, are outlined in Ezekiel 46. The chapter details daily, Sabbath, and the new moon sacrifices. These divine regulations not only instruct worship practices, but also emphasize the principles of leadership, stewardship, and social justice, while allowing the diversity in worship. God prescribed order and continuity. The main point is that we have the privilege of entering into his presence today in our churches without so many regulations. Plus, we should be leaving from service different because we have been in his presence. Ezekiel 47 presents a captivating prophetic vision wherein Ezekiel is led by a divine figure to a healing river flowing from the temple. The river symbolizes life from God and gentle and safe blessings that flow from his throne. The chapter also reveals the boundaries of the promised land, depicting an image of hope, restoration, and abundance. In the concluding chapter of the book of Ezekiel, he presents an intricate divine plan for the allocation of the promised land among the 12 tribes of Israel. It also describes the holy portion designated for the Lord, where the sanctuary, the priestly land, the city, and the prince's land reside. The prophetic vision reinforces God's unwavering commitment to his covenant with Israel, depicting a future of restoration, order, and divine presence among his people. Well, the book of Ezekiel began by describing the holiness of God that Israel had despised and ignored. And as a result, God's presence departed from the temple, the city, and the people. The book ended with a detailed vision of the new temple, the new city, and the new people, all demonstrating God's holiness. Remember, God's presence makes everything glorious, and worship brings us into his presence. You have just completed the reading of the book of Ezekiel. How wonderful. Now, next week, we are going to start in being in the Christmas season with some Advent devotions. So won't you please check in, because Biblical Shakers makes reading the Bible way more enjoyable for you. And I pray the Lord will put a hunger on your heart.